if you're not fully clear on what the goals need to be, which when we opened the call, that's what you said, more clarity on what direction, what the goals are going to be.
Yeah.
If you write them down one day, the you that you are when you're writing them down, the people that you've spoken to that day, the temperature outside, the air pressure, the position of the stars, there's a million different things influencing the being that is you in that moment writing it down. And
Totally.
you may be very different. So when you try to read the goals the next day, they just don't resonate in the same way. And then the next day they don't resonate. And then before you know it, you're giving up because you're not getting any result from it. And then the doubt starts coming in and you say, I don't believe in this as a tool because it's not making me feel any different. Things started really shifting for me when I switched to writing them down every day, fresh. Not looking at what I've written down yesterday, writing it down from scratch, just writing it from the heart, right? So for example, one of my goals to be interviewed by Joe Rogan, right? I want to get on his podcast because I think his audience would vibe well with what I have to say.
Totally.
And so I had that as a goal, and it's still on my goals list. But it's not one of the daily ones. It's not one that comes up all the time. But because it comes up often enough, when I connect with someone that says, oh, I've got a podcast, I'm aligned to that opportunity. So I know that I'm supposed to take action to make that happen.
Right.
Because that's a step towards the bigger goal that I've been reminding myself of. If I'd written down the podcast one and then read that every day, it doesn't have the same effect as when you're writing it new from scratch. Because when you're writing it new, you're channeling what your higher self wants for you. And in the process, you're also allowing different parts of your ego to express itself. So you might write, I drive an Aston Martin, and you get to feel each time you write it, am I comfortable writing this? Am I comfortable believing this? But I did a video on the power of physical affirmation speaking. And the concept was each time you say the phrase, let's say it's I make $1 million, each time you say it, you become more aware of the different muscles in your mouth that are tense, that are keeping you from saying it fully.
Okay.
And each time you say, the reason repeating affirmations is powerful is because you are physically reprogramming the entirety of your body, the diaphragm, the lungs, the throat, the voice box. You're reprogramming the whole speech system. Then it's going to trip you up and it's going to get tense and it's going to prevent you from speaking more freely when you need to. That will mean that interview with Joe Rogan becomes a possibility. So on a similar level, when you're writing the goals with your hand, you're using fingers. And fingers are our main tool for interacting with the world and exerting our higher self's desires on the world. We paint, we draw, we type, we point, we discuss, right? Fingers are really important. So if you're using the hand to write down, I make $1 million, that is powerful beyond just any mental thing. It's powerful in the physical body just as much.
Right.
Okay. So that would be the number one thing at this point that I think you should take from this call. Is don't expect that you can write a goals list and that's going to continue to be relevant for you as you evolve and change and grow as a spiritual being. And if you want progress quickly, you need to operate assuming that day to day you're going to have different pulls and desires. What I tend to do, I try not to overthink it. One of the rules that I have is that I have to write in the present tense.
Okay.
So I don't say I'm going to make this much this year. I say I earn this much every year, or I say I am interviewed on this podcast, or I drive an Aston Martin. So I write in the present tense, and that's a powerful aspect to it. I don't do any smart, specific, measurable, any of that stuff. I just let myself write what I want to accomplish, what I want to experience, and I might use like be, have, and do. You know, what am I doing? What am I having? What am I being? And then sometimes, often at the end, I'll get into like a flow zone and I'll start writing things that are still goals, but they're like more behavioral goals. So like things like I love selling, or I love connecting with new customers. Things that I know in the past I've been resistant to, I write consciously that I love doing it. I had a very similar experience of feeling like I was losing my mind. For me, it was induced by weed, and it was induced by a housemate he was a friend who we tried to start a business together, and we moved into a house up in Leeds, the reduced rent, and we had these big plans, big dreams. It was all looking up. And I started watching some conspiracy documentaries, and when I was high with him one day, I looked at him and I just realized that I didn't know him. And I realized that he had all of these weird little patterns, and he looked like he was acting, and it freaked me out. And it felt like he was manipulating me, like he was saying things to try to control me. He was someone that had a lot of manipulative parts to himself that he wasn't aware of. But he wasn't as dangerous as I thought he was. I thought at times that he might try and kill me. I thought that he was trying to fleece me for money. I thought he was a real evil bastard. And so I just kind of had to get him out. To this day, I like the guy because I can now see the parts of him that were good as well as the parts that were not good. But what freaked me out at the time was that I hadn't noticed the depth any before then. I hadn't noticed the depth, and also I hadn't tuned into anything spiritual before.
Right.
So what was happening was I was starting to tune in to spiritual planes, and it was confusing and scary, so I put it into the narrative that made sense for me. The reason I tell you this is because now I can take LSD, I can take a drug and be in a group of people that I do not know, and I'm fine. But more importantly, I'm still experiencing the same feeling of, are they talking about me, right? But I'm responding to it very differently.
Yeah.
Because the way that I assume it is that what they're talking about is totally independent from me. But if I'm feeling like they're saying a particular thing about me, that means that I feel that way about me.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for an excuse to become conscious of it.
Mm-hmm.
My mind needed me to see how vulnerable I was and how little I was aware of my action. So it exaggerated his behavior and made it seem sinister, but forced me to notice that there was an aspect of my own behavior and being that wasn't mature enough. Right?
Crazy.
You're a universe, and whatever happens in your universe is a manifestation of you, and you have to assume that. And if it's happening and you choose to feel bad about it, or you choose to feel afraid, or you choose to feel threatened by it, then you're wasting an opportunity, because you could feel very differently about the same event. Those parts of you that emerged when the LSD hit in, those self-doubting parts, they may still be there. And even though they're not interfering on a conscious level with you, because you're not taking LSD and turning up the volume on it,
Yeah.
they're probably still there. You told me about this bad acid trip and the struggle that you're having with the goal, so my guess would be that they're related. And then to map them out, to find where they are, what they have to say, how they feel, where they come from, and how to negotiate with them.
Right.
And the best bit about it is that each of those parts, once they get integrated, once they chill out, they're able to serve you instead of trying to sabotage you.
Right.
Because when they're in a fearful state, like with the tongue, right, it's going to try and keep the rest of you from taking too much action in the direction that you feel you need to go, because it's afraid. So it A, holds you back, but B, it holds itself back from cooperating with the rest and giving its unique gift, which in the tongue's case is the ability to enunciate and speak, right? The middle finger on the right hand has its own spiritual purpose in the world. The big toe, for example, is used to stop you when you're moving too quickly, to jump, right? All the motions that part of the body is included in. Your fears about moving too quickly will be related with that part of the body. But when it's stopped being afraid and it can work properly, then you're able to jump instead of holding back. The whole approach that I use is your job is to become a yogi of your body. So it's pointless me showing you positions or telling you to use this type of massage tool or that type of, it's your journey. So you've got to figure it out. So what I do is I help you to figure it out. Essentially, I help you to build your own practice of self-healing that is unique to you, that is aligned to your interests and your modus operandi, but that accomplishes the same thing that all of us on the course do. Do you want to be involved in that?
Yeah, I think I'll go ahead with that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wonderful, my man. Good to have you on board.
Yeah, it feels good to be on board.
Yeah, man. I think we're gonna get a lot done. And
Yeah, I think so too.
cool, man.